Has to work quickly. Down to 6 seconds. Carr going down again. And it's Quentin Williams this time for the Jets.
Over the middle in the air, picked off. Brian Poole to the end zone, touchdown. The punter to beat, and the punter brings him down. Braden Mann saved a touchdown most likely.
Looks right, fires a bomb down the right sideline again for Mims. What a catch by Denzel Mims.
And welcome back to an episode of the Cool Your Jets podcast. We're your hosts, Ben Blessington and Michael Nania. Michael, we have a very special guest on the line with us today. Obviously, we've gone through the first few weeks of free agency. The draft is approaching, and we needed to bring in an expert to help us talk about the current state of the Jets, because there's a lot happening with them. And the next month is a very pivotal one for the entire franchise. So DJ Bien-Aime, who is the new New York Daily News Jets beat writer, has joined us. Thank you for joining us, DJ. Can I first ask, tell us your story about and your journey to becoming the Jets New York Daily News beat writer. I know you've grown up a Dolphins fan, so this is this is we'll see how we do. Honestly, I don't know if we're gonna be friends after this, but can you just take us through your journey to becoming the Jets beat writer for the New York Daily News?
Yeah, so growing up, I love sports, as most people that write about sports. I love sports. Played it a little bit. Went to college. Played a little bit of junior college football. But I had more prospects for track, and I'm getting a track scholarship. Ran at the University of Louisville for about 2 years, from 16 to 18. After I graduated in 18, covered Louisville athletics for about a year. Then I went to grad school at Columbia University from 2019 2020. Graduated in the middle of a pandemic. So much fun with that. But so after that, I was unemployed from about May all the way to November. Well, technically, from May to January, but I ended up getting a gig in October. They offered me the gig to go cover sports in St. Augustine, which is about 45 minutes south of Jacksonville, to cover high school and a little bit of D2 basketball, D2 program. So I took that gig. They offered me in October, but I didn't get officially on staff until January. For whatever reason, it took forever to get my paperwork through. Don't know why. It is what it is. But I was there from January 11th till about, I think, technically March 19th. So, but I just seen that stuff for them in December, but my official first day was January 11th. So here I am now, trying not to, ruin my, my friendship with beautiful Jet. Yeah.
Well, good for you, man. I mean, how long is it taking you to get fully acclimated? Because you've only been on the job for a few weeks, but fully acclimated, I guess, with the team. Because if you're growing up a Dolphins fan, you see the Jets twice a year. I can't imagine your image of the franchise is too prestigious. Right. But how long is it taking you to get acclimated with the team? Because, last season was obviously not a great season, but this is an exciting time for Jets fans. I mean, it finally feels like the ship is moving in the right direction. We like Joe Douglas. We really, really like Robert Saleh. They've made some moves. They're still a young up and coming team, but are you kind of acclimated at this point with the team, or is it still going to take a little bit, a few training camp practices to fully get the job down?
So, for the job perspective, probably by training camp, I'll probably all right, this is where it needs to be. Or probably by after week 2 or 3, just getting used to training camp and then getting used to preseason and getting used to game reports and things like that. I'll probably be as acclimated as I can be. But in terms of just understanding the Jets, I've been paying attention to the Jets for a while. I mean, they're in the division. They were in my favorite team's division. And I have a lot of friends that were football junkies. So we've talked about the Jets a lot. When I mean a lot, a lot. Because at one point, believe it or not, I used to be a Sam Darnold defender.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I used to, but then at the last season,
emphasis on the past tense.
We were both at that point. We both had our stages.
Right. So I used to debate about that and things like that. Even when the Jets traded Jamal Adams, I'm thinking, oh, they'll still be competitive and things like that. I still believe in Greg Williams' defense and the scheme, blah 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 blah. But when it progressed, boom. But yeah, from a personnel perspective and things like that, I've paid attention to the Jets overall. My best friend, one of my closest friends, he's a Jets fan, so we've always gone back and forth on those Jet versus Dolphin things. But yeah, so the team perspective, I've paid attention to it. I mean, that's why most of my friends were laughing so much, because when I got the Jets gig, because they were just we've always talked about them at one point or another, because it's always like we would talk about the NFL then be like, so what do you think about Sam Darnold, man? I'm like, well, the first year I'm like, he showed promise. Second year I'm like, he looked like he's getting a little bit better. Than last year, it was like, yeah, you gotta kind of cut bait. You can't really, go back into another season with a guy that threw 9 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So.
Oh God.
Yeah, but speaking about the team, there's been a lot to talk about the last couple of weeks with free agency. I think for the most part, at least from my perspective, I'm pretty excited about it. And I think fans are definitely enjoying most of what they've done. It's not been perfect, but it's been exciting the past couple of weeks. So how does what they did compare to what you thought they needed to do and what they might have done going into the free agency period?
So they've done as well as as one could surmise, if we're just being honest. They've done as well as you could think. I mean, obviously they still have some holes in the O line, interior off O line, and in the cornerback in the spot, but they can fill those in the draft. I'm not really a big proponent of like throwing out like $12+ million to offensive linemen in free agency, but so them not going after the guy from Green Bay or the guy from New England. Like, it is what it is on that. They can just draft a guy and develop him that way. But getting Corey Davis, that was big, because PFF rated him the 10th best receiver all of NFL last year. If he didn't catch COVID, he'd have been over 1,000-yard receiver.
Yeah.
Carl Lawson. I mean, I know you've all done your research on him. I've done my research on him.
Monster.
He gets the quarterback. Yeah, exactly. The quarterback. So, I mean, he was second in the NFL in quarterback hits.
Yep.
And he had, I think, 64 overall pressures.
Yep.
So, obviously, Saleh, he's trying to build it in the same infrastructure as he had with the Niners, where, attacking strong defensive line to make everything for everybody behind them easier. So I like that pickup, like the low risk, high reward in Sheldon Rankins. If Sheldon Rankins can stay healthy, because he's dealt with some injuries in the past few years, they'll be able to continue to fortify that defensive line, and he's going to be able to play next to Quentin Williams. So, yeah, I've liked some of the moves. Tevin Coleman, that's a good low risk, potential like medium reward. Obviously he's not gonna run for like 1,000 yards or nothing like that, but being able to have a guy that's familiar with the system, so just in case if players get hurt, you have a guy that can step in and still be able to run the offense and get carries, and you can trust and things of that nature. So, and getting Keenan Cole to be able to compete with Jamison Crowder within camp. So I've liked some of the pickups. One pickup I didn't like when they picked up Dan.
Feeney.
Yeah, Feeney. I didn't like that pickup at all.
Yeah.
He was one of the worst centers in all of the NFL.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, so that one, whatever. I guess you can never go wrong with that, because somebody's gonna get hurt. So when that happens, being able to have guys that can step in and not be an abject disaster, but he can be that. But that's neither here nor there. We'll see. But outside of that, I've liked most of the pickups. I'm not really too sure about the Gerard Davis pickup. Yeah. I'm not too sure. Jared, I think it's Jared, but I'm not really too sure about that pickup. Only because he hasn't really done much outside of like the first few years he's in the league. But I will chop it up to he was playing for Matt Patricia in a 3-4 system, where he's more of a 4-3 linebacker. But we'll see though. We'll see. And time will tell with that. But it's only a 1-year deal, so if he's not looking good, cut him and move on.
Right.
So So I really do like most of the moves, and like they didn't sign anybody to like a 6-year contract.
Yeah.
They signed most dudes to like a 3-year contract at the most. So it's really a 2-year deal, and they signed Rankins to a 2-year deal, which is really a 1-year deal. They can get out of it after the first year, so they're still keeping that flexibility.
And you mentioned a couple of the holes that they still need to fill, primarily cornerback, interior O-line, maybe linebacker as well. So what do you think are some of the particular free agents and positions that they may have been targeting that they sort of swung and missed on?
Well, I think with what's left, I think that they should just go with the draft. I mean, kind of like cornerback. I mean, yeah, you can bring in Richard Sherman, but he's 33 towards the end. He only has 2 more years left, as he stated on. I think it was on Stephen A. Smith's late night show, something like that. But he said he wanted to play 2 more years, so I'm guessing he wants to go to a contender. And there's been rumors about him going back to what's that team called? Oh, the Seahawks. So I don't really see him coming here. Steven Nelson, he got released from the Steelers. I mean, I think that'd be a solid pickup. I think that'd be a solid pickup. But I think they should go with the draft. There's some O linemen available, but you can just draft some and develop some that way. Robert Saleh has some time to develop his guys, and just do it that way. That's how I'm looking at it now. Because when you want to just keep throwing money at players, especially if they're still available at this point, then it's like you're trying to get a bargain and they're probably a little bit older and things like that. And you're kind of hoping that you can probably squeeze them out, but you can just use that on a rookie, allow him to develop. And hopefully in 2-3 years, you have either a solid starter, a stud, or a perennial Pro Bowler,
Right. Yeah. It seems like Douglas is definitely a firm believer of building through the draft. We'll see. I think he will, scrape around the next few weeks of finding some bargain free agents here or there. I anticipate them to add a slot corner. I think they'll probably bring back Brian Poole. I think they'll probably add a veteran on the outside there, and then maybe a veteran offensive lineman or something like that. But yeah, I would agree with you. I think they did a fairly good job. Davis is interesting. Feeney, we can all agree on. I don't think is great. He's young though, so it's get him in training camp, see what happens. Right. Sometimes with offensive linemen, it can take a little bit. Davis, though, I am intrigued by. I don't think he was probably a little bit overpaid in our minds because, you look at Nicholas Morrow or Jaylen Brown or some of the other better linebackers got cheaper deals. But I think it was Peter Schrager was saying that Davis had a market. A lot of people were interested in him. So I think you're right. I think a lot of people are buying into the, this is the Matt Patricia defense and they didn't really use him correctly. And, in New York, he's going to be that 4-3 Sam linebacker for Robert Saleh, presumably, unless they trade Mosley or something like that. But he's going to be that 4-3 Sam. He's going to be in more of a situational role. He'll still play a good amount of the time, but he'll be tasked with a variety of things, of getting after the quarterback, which he's really good at, and being in coverage, which he's not as good at, but he's not going to be relied upon as that Mike linebacker, which I think is going to be really good for him. But when we look at probably the biggest issue surrounding the Jets right now, definitely the biggest issue is the quarterback, as everybody's trying to figure out what exactly is going to happen. It seems like it's the narrative has shifted fully into the Jets are going to draft a quarterback. Do you think that the Jets have made up their mind on Sam Darnold? They like to say they want to go through all the pro days, and technically Justin Fields isn't until this week. So, if you were to ask Joe Douglas, he would say they haven't, but they've had to have made up their mind on what they're going to do with Sam Darnold, right? Do you think that the decision's been made?
Yeah, agreed. I think at this point, right, because I think before Friday, there probably was still like that cloud, right? But then when the Niners played with the Dolphins, why didn't they go up to number 2, right? Right. You know what I'm saying? They could have went up to number 2. There was a guy that they really, really wanted. They didn't want anything to happen. But obviously, there apparently wasn't, according to Adam Scheffler, there wasn't even a deal discussed. So, that just lets you know that we're probably towards the end of the Sam Darnold, I guess, tenure, which is, it is what it is. I do think that the Jets didn't do a great job of developing him correctly or, supplying him with the talent that like a Baker Mayfield got or a Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson got. But, it happens. That isn't all on Joe Douglas. The previous general manager was more susceptible to that and more culpable for that. But, it is what it is. And I think at this point, it seems that, it looks like it's I won't say it's a done deal with Zach Wilson, but the way, the perception is, it may be a done deal. What do you all think?
Actually curious to get your opinion on the Darnold debate because it's been a very hot topic on Jets Twitter the past few days. So, and I know you said in the beginning that you're sort of on the, it's time to move on train, but where were you on him coming out of college after his first couple seasons, and then your reaction to what he did this past season?
That's a really good question. That's a really, really good question. So if I think back, so I think I won't go like my top 5 or whatnot, but I wasn't as high on Sam Darnold. I liked Baker more than him. I liked Lamar more than him. Unfortunately, I liked Josh Rosen more than him.
Yeah, I did too. He was my favorite quarterback in that class.
And you can't blame us because, like, when you watch Josh Rosen in college, like, he was everything that you would think a quarterback in 2018 or whatever.
He's the guy that I think kind of shifted it in my mind because if if he was a draft prospect in 1985 or 1990, I think he's an A+. But I think you kind of saw that the lack of athleticism at the quarterback position is just kind of a dying breed. Yeah, I was high on Josh Rosen, but my praise of Lamar Jackson, I think, kind of offsets that. So I'm still broke even on the 2018 draft.
You broke even. I will say that, obviously, I think like 95% of humans on planet Earth missed on Josh Allen too, but that's okay.
Agreed.
That's
okay.
okay.
Maybe I'm in the negative.
But I was a little bit more higher with those three guys. But here's the thing, like I feel like if you're a first round prospect, unless you're Daniel Jones or like EJ Manuel or something like that, most times you have the talent. Your talent warrants you being a first round pick. It's about, are you going to be in a situation that's going to allow you to grow and develop into that quarterback that you need to be? Are they going to build it properly around you? And the answer for Darnold was they didn't. And it is what it is. And he failed under that. You know what I'm saying? And it is what it is. Stuff happens. Josh Rosen was only given 1 year. And obviously the Cardinals made the right decision. But there's a chance that if he was allowed to grow within the Cardinals system, he would have maybe been able to become a better NFL quarterback. So it comes down to how the team builds around the quarterback,
So looking forward with Darnold, who do you think are some of the teams that are the best candidates to trade for him? The Niners are one that have probably been the most discussed throughout this process, but trading up to 3 pretty much takes them out of the mix for him. So who do you think are some of the possible destinations for him?
So, I mean, before all the quarterback musical chairs, I saw Chicago, I saw Washington football team, I saw the Niners. I even read some reports about if the Seahawks were to trade Russell Wilson, and Darnold could end up in Seattle. Even, some about him going to Houston because the Deshaun Watson stuff, but with the league, the lawsuits pending and stuff like that, it's probably dead now. But here's the thing now, like I feel like Joe Douglas may have overplayed his hand, or maybe had been a little bit too cautious and patient with doing the whole evaluation thing. Because now those spots are now filled. Granted, I do think that on draft night, if he's still on the roster and they draft per se, let's say they draft Zach Wilson or Justin Fields or Trey Lance, just throwing things out there, I do believe that he will get moved because remember, Kyler Murray drafted by the Cardinals, and then Josh Rosen got moved for a second to the Dolphins, on draft night, and that was that for the most part. So, the market, though, it has dried up, in my opinion. But all it takes is one team. And, I mean, maybe he can get moved for like a third or a fourth. If they're trying to get a first, that was lunacy because you're not going to get a first for a guy that threw 9 touchdowns.
Right.
Second is kind of pushing it, too, because he's like in year 3. And on top of that, you have the 5th-year option. So that's also playing a factor. Let me think of another team. I mean, I could see a scenario, maybe Houston, because they, in my opinion, with the Deshaun Watson situation going on, there's a good chance he may not even get traded. He may not even play because of the whole, the NFL, once they start investigating the situation, there's a chance they could put you on an exempt list or they could suspend you. So, like, they may just end up needing another quarterback.
Who's their backup? Who do they even have?
That's what I'm saying. Who is the backup?
Michael, you know anything? Because you're right. They might have to just make a move to get somebody in the building because I don't think Watson's playing this year, at least the current situation.
Right. So,
they do have Tyrod as their backup.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They signed Tyrod Taylor. Okay, they can still roll with Tyrod.
Right, yeah. So they have Tyrod. So let's say there's a situation where they may just need an extra person for to put in there. So that's a possibility. I've heard some people talk about the Steelers, but they have their young prospect that they can quote unquote develop and see what happens in Dwayne Haskins. But yeah, man, we'll see, man. Like because the options they've start to dry up. When you think about it, you just go over each team. Where does he fit? There isn't that many teams where he just fits,
Right. Yeah, I think the two teams that I keep coming back to are Carolina and Denver, especially after the trades that happened on Friday, just because you kind of alluded to it earlier. The trades, the biggest storyline of the entire trade, and obviously I'm a Jets fan, so this is the biggest thing that stuck out to me, was it solidified, okay, the Jets are taking a quarterback. And if they're not taking a quarterback, which I find highly unlikely, that means that they're expecting to get a better deal then the Niners just gave up, which seems pretty hard to do. So I think they're probably going to take a quarterback. A lot of people think it's going to be Zach Wilson. Obviously, we know the Niners are going to take a quarterback. I personally think they're going to take Trey Lance and then try to sit him behind Jimmy Garoppolo, do the whole Pat Mahomes, Alex Smith route. And then you're looking at pick 4. Somebody's going to come up and take Justin Fields. If Atlanta doesn't take him, somebody's going to come up and get him. Right. And then you have this slew of teams that are on the outside looking in. I mean, unless you trust Mac Jones, I guess he's probably going to end up getting overdrafted. But that Carolina, that Denver, one of those two teams I think is going to be on the outside looking in, and they're going to have to turn and say, look, do we trade a second for Darnold, see if he has anything? If it doesn't work out, we let him walk next year, and we're back in the same position next year.
Let me ask you this, Ben.
Yeah.
If the Broncos trade for Sam Darnold, is he much of an upgrade over Drew Lock?
I think it's important to remember Elway's not making the decisions anymore, because there's the report that Elway was infatuated with Darnold, and the Jets thought that Denver was going to actually hop him with the Giants to take him when Baker went number 1. I agree. I don't, as somebody who's watched every game of Sam Darnold's career, I don't think he's a significant upgrade over Drew Lock as it stands right now. I think his potential though is higher. I think his pedigree and his potential, but it's just kind of how much do you weigh, that in your decision making. You could also, there's the argument. It's like, well, these guys are two similarly ranked players, I guess. You trade a second for Darnold or a third, like you're saying, and then you have them competing training camp. But that is kind of a pricey, it's kind of an expensive price tag to pay for quarterback competition. I guess the other team, it's kind of the favorite, is the Washington football team, just because it seems like they were certainly one of the teams that called about Darnold in March, and they don't really have a concrete plan, I guess, at quarterback is what I would say. Now, when you look at the rookies, DJ, I want your personal opinion. How do you rank the rookie quarterbacks? And then on top of that, how do you think Douglas views the rookie quarterbacks?
The ones coming into this class?
Yeah. Sorry. Zach Wilson, Justin Fields. I guess Trevor Lawrence.
All right.
Trey Lance, Mac Jones.
So obviously number 1, Trevor Lawrence.
Right.
That's number 1. Number 2 for me would be Justin Fields. I just feel like Justin Fields has a higher upside, and but I will give Wilson his credit. He plays the position better than Justin Fields plays it right now as we currently stand. He's a lot more fluid through his reads. He processes a little bit better. He throws with more anticipation. He's a little bit more accurate. And when the play breaks down, the difference between Fields and Wilson is when play breaks down for Fields, he's breaking it down so he can run. For Wilson breaking it down so he can throw for the most part.
Right.
And he's better off platinum with off platinum throws and things like that. Even though I'm not too crazy about off platinum throws, because you can't rely the whole game on off platinum throws, but they're nice to have. It's good to have that in your toolbox. But I do think that Fields has a stronger arm, is more athletic, bigger, stronger athlete. And we've seen in the past few drafts, whether it's with Josh Allen or Justin Herbert, or even to an extent like Lamar Jackson in the athlete mold, that when a guy has more upside, if you can tap into that, you'll get more out of it. So that's how I view it. And then third would be Zach Wilson. And then fourth would be Trey Lance. I think Trey Lance has more upside than Zach Wilson also, because he has a bigger, stronger arm. However, there's a lot more development that needs to be done with Trey Lance, having not played out of last year, and having played at D1 AA. But again, it's like splitting hairs, you know what I'm saying? Right. But I will also say this: I feel that right now, Zach Wilson probably fits the Mike LaFleur system the best. Right. So I think for fit purposes, I do think that Wilson would probably be the best option. Just if you go schematics, but if you just want to go like based off of just player, I think Wilson I think Fields has a slight edge in my opinion on that. And then fifth, Mac Jones, I guess, but he's probably, as you said, he's probably overdrafted, which is fine. I feel like he is good enough. He has to go to a situation where he's not asked to do too much. I think he had to go to like an Andy Dalton situation where he came in with the Bengals, and you have to hope by the time the pieces around him start to flail off, he'll be able to carry them. But we'll see.
It's kind of crazy because maybe it's just the quarterback classes that have been coming out in recent years are so great that a prospect like Mac Jones is like really underwhelming to me. But if Mac Jones were to come out 10 years ago, I mean, he's a top 5 pick, I think. I mean, you think about all the bad quarterback. You mentioned EJ Manuel earlier, and it just brought me back the flashbacks of him going 16th overall, I think, in the first round, and then no other quarterbacks. And then Geno went in round 2. And it's just like, I mean, there was a lot of bad quarterback drafts, and we've just been hit with just lucky, 3-4 stars every single quarterback draft. It feels like the last 5 years. But yeah, Mac Jones to me is pretty underwhelming.
Yeah, agreed. And I mean, I think from like 11 or maybe like we can go back to 09 or maybe even 08, like the quarterback classes all the way up to like maybe 2017, maybe even 2018, just for underwhelming. Like I mean, you got Cam, you got I guess
you got Russell Wilson and Andrew Luck. Wilson was like third round kind of random.
Right. So that's just like, just the whole quarterback class things, that just haven't been that stellar. And now we're getting a whole bunch of stellars,
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see with, 2 really good options in Fields and Wilson, where the Jets end up leaning if they do go with the quarterback. But like you mentioned, it does seem like Zach Wilson is where they're leaning right now. There's the scheme fit aspect of it, where it does seem like he's the better fit. And there also are some rumblings right now that the Jets are looking in that direction. I think there's a tweet from Dane Brugler who was saying that the draft starts at 3. The Jets are going with Wilson. Do you buy that right now that the Jets are sold on him, or do you think Fields still has a chance to get in that mix?
And Lance.
I mean, we'll see. I do think that it's probably leaning that way just off of basically everything that we've been seeing, we've been reading. I think it's leaning that way, but we have a month out. I know y'all remember back in 2018, Sam Darnold seemed like he was going to be the number 1 overall pick. And then, Baker went number 1. And then before, then the Jets, because remember, I think the Jets were supposed to probably get Baker, and then they ended up getting, Sam Darnold. So, yeah. So we'll see. And just see how things go. We'll see how things go in a month. I think Justin Fields has his on the 30th, the pro day. So one thing that I will pay attention to, I want to see if they send all 3, Douglas, Saleh, and LaFleur. If they send all 3, then I'm all right. Well, we can, keep speculating. But if not, then that'll be very, very telling.
Yeah. I think, I don't want to speak out of turn here, but did they not send all 3 to Lance? I think they just sent Douglas, right? Anybody else?
I think it was just Douglas.
So that is really telling. And Michael and I were kind of debating this earlier. It's like pro days definitely don't matter, but they do tell you some things. I mean, it is a quarterback's opportunity to basically just show you what he's got. And so for a guy like Justin Fields, he can, because people are fawning over the off platform and throwing off his back foot type of throws that Wilson just makes look so easy. And it is a really cool part about his game, but Justin Fields wasn't really required to do too much of that in Ohio State, but I'm curious to see how much freedom he lets fly on his pro day. I mean, how many off platform, off his back foot rollout type of throws does he incorporate in his pro day, or how much of it is going to be kind of what he ran at Ohio State? And, it's also, how do you perform kind of under pressure? All these scouts and national television, it's all on you. You get those official measurements, so you get to talk to guys. I would say that I think Fields is still in the mix, because I think you laid it out pretty perfectly about that Wilson plays the quarterback position better than Fields does, but I love the potential that Fields has. He just seems like one of those prospects that just is getting constantly overlooked. And in 2 years, we're going to be like, why was everybody overlooking Justin Fields? It's the same thing that happened to Deshaun Watson. It's the same thing that happened to Lamar Jackson. It's just, I feel like if somebody can tap into that potential, you're going to get a superstar of a quarterback.
It happened last year with Herbert and Tua, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, more so Herbert. I mean, I know that the Dolphins fan in you is talking about Tua, but no, I'm just kidding.
Right. No, yeah. No. I'm talking about like it happened with Herbert.
Oh, right. I see what you're saying.
Tua's the better passer. This isn't that blah, blah, blah. And they ignored all of the like physical traits that Herbert had. I never ignored it, but I always thought like, oh, well, he didn't do X, Y, and Z in college, so how could he just end up doing that in NFL? And then boom, he did X, Y, and Z.
Right. It's so much about where you go. And I think the Jets have the last 10 or so years have been a pretty terrible destination for a quarterback. Hey, but Mark Sanchez walked into a pretty great situation. I think right now, the way the Jets are situated, it's a much better environment for a young quarterback than the Sam Darnold walked into. So if somebody can tap into that potential Justin Fields has, I think you're looking at a guy who could potentially be the best quarterback in the entire class. But I think it's probably Wilson. I think the writing's on the wall, but we'll see. Now, DJ, last question for you. So let's hypothetical here. Let's say the Jets do end up trading Sam Darnold. Let's say they get lucky. They start a bidding war and they get a second, mid-round second. We'll say the Washington football team. They'll have 4 picks in the first 2 days of the NFL draft, which is an amazing opportunity for any team, but especially for a team that just needs talent like this team does.
No, that the Dolphins got, I think they got like.
Hey, we don't have to agree with the Dolphins. But no, you're right. The next 2 drafts, the Dolphins and the Jets.
We'll be out there willing and dealing now.
I have to give the Dolphins GM a lot of credit. They turned Laramie Tunsil on those 4 first-round picks, and that's just, I mean, they're definitely wheeling and dealing. I like the AFC East is shaping out that in 5 years it can definitely be the best division in all football. Just they have 3 really young, exciting, defensive-minded head coaches, and then the GOAT. And then just I feel like all organizations are kind of moving in the right direction. We'll see. We'll see about the Dolphins in 2.
I think the AFC East can end up becoming the NFC West. To be honest,
definitely. They're kind of scary. For years, it's always just been the Patriots, and then who can challenge them. And now it kind of seems like the Patriots are going down a peg, and the other teams are rising. The Jets, we still have a ways to go for the Jets, but 4 picks in the first 2 days. Position wise, I mean, it doesn't always work out this way. You don't want to draft just based off position, but if you're Joe Douglas in those 4 picks for each pick, what are you targeting? Because obviously we know, okay, you got to get a quarterback at 2, but then when you look at 23, what are the positions that you're trying to think there? 34, what are you thinking? And then we'll say 50 or whatever the other second round pick would be. What positions do you think Joe Douglas would try to address in those first 4 picks of the draft? Obviously, it won't fall this way. They'll take the best players available, but position-wise, what do you think?
I think they for sure got to target O-line and cornerback, and then maybe some spot. Oh, and running back. So my I guess rankings on terms of need would go cornerback, interior offensive line, and then running back.
So you would take a running back on day 2. You don't buy into the whole running backs don't matter.
Yeah, of course. I do not buy into that at all. That's just so lazy. Like, what do you mean one position on the football field doesn't matter? Like, we're not talking about a punter, and they matter too to an extent. But yeah, like, what do you mean our offense or running back doesn't matter?
Right.
Every good, not the Patriots, the Tampa Bay Bucks, they were able to have their run because Leonard Fournette was also toting the rock. You know what I'm saying? When the Chiefs won their Super Bowl, Damian Williams had over 100 yards, and I think 2 or 3 touchdowns. So running backs absolutely matter. It's just lazy people like, oh, they don't matter. Don't use a first round pick on them, whatever.
I agree with you. I think they definitely get undervalued. I think the argument stems from that they're the easiest, quote unquote, easiest position to find because you see so many guys who get drafted in the 4th round that just become stars. And on a team that has so many holes like the Jets, you get kind of weary about using a top pick on them. But I agree. I mean, if Najee Harris or Travis Etienne fall, I wouldn't take one in the 1st round, but if they fall in the 2nd round, and I would consider it. It depends on the board. It's maybe there's a more wise approach to using your assets, but it's like if you're going to get a guy who's going to be a Pro Bowler year 1, it's kind of hard to turn it down.
Najee Harris, Travis Etienne, Javonte Williams.
Yeah, I like Michael Carter a lot. If he's available in the 3rd round, I would pounce on him.
He ran for like 300 on my Hurricanes. So.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, those are all great options.
Right.
And I think for sure they gotta get cornerback. So I was looking at Greg Newsome. I'll be with him from Northwestern. He's really good. I like him a lot. Hopefully he's there. I was talking to one of my friends. He doesn't think he'll be there. Because his film is really good. So I would take him at 23. I mean, I think. Okay, yeah. If he's there at 23, yeah. Now, if Bill Horn is there at 23, as I tweeted earlier, I will submit his name for the Jets myself. If Horn is there, because I love Horn from South Carolina.
Yeah, I could see him be the first corner off the board, even ahead of Surtain.
Right.
I think one now probably Farley because of the medicals, but between Surtain, Horn, definitely Newsome, I would say. Maybe not definitely, but one of those top corners is going to be there.
Right.
But then
Agreed.
it's like if Elijah Vera Tucker's there, then we know Douglas loves the offensive line. He might go there and then try to get corner at 34. There is a scenario here where the board falls absolutely perfectly. It probably won't. It's the Jets. But if there's a scenario where it's like they can get Elijah Vera Tucker at 23 and then they can get Newsome at 34. And then, then the doors have opened for this team actually being competitive this year. We'll see how it goes in a few weeks. Obviously an exciting time. Regardless, the Jets are going to get good players and good young talent into this team. Hopefully.
I think they're going to be competitive this year, regardless. I feel like if you want me to be very honest, I feel like they could be better than the Patriots this year.
Oh, okay.
I just don't believe in the Patriots this year, man. Like, I know they made a lot of moves, whatever. They overpaid for almost everybody. Like, they signed a whole bunch of guys. Only one of them was even a Pro Bowler. Granted, I like Smith, Jonnu Smith, the tight end. He's really good. Henry is a good addition. But I mean, they paid more money for Aguilar on a per year basis than the Jets did for Corey Davis.
I know.
Corey Davis is better.
It was strange. Their free agent.
But like one thing that kind of like annoyed me was like all the fawning over the Patriots move. Like, oh my God, the Patriots are back, blah blah blah. Like they're down and now they're gonna be back. Like did they sign all pros or did they sign just guys outside of like
they utilize
I could easily see if the Jets made the same signings, they'd really be killed for like, they're gonna go 7-10, 6 and it's hard to adjust to that new number now, but they get that sort of reaction because the Patriots, it's a little bit different.
Perfect example. So as I've gotten older, I've found more flaws in Colin Cowherd's show, The Herd. I found more flaws in it, right? As I've gotten older. So with the Patriots, he's praising all of their moves, right? And then he's like, oh, typical Jets. They went ahead and they signed Corey Davis, overpaid for Corey Davis, and they made Carl Lawson the highest paid player on the team. I don't like, paying guys and making them the highest paid player. First off, Colin, it's not your money. So that doesn't matter that you don't like paying a guy the highest paid player, making him the highest paid player on the team. Again, it's a 3-year deal, so they can get out of it after 2 years if he's not the guy, whatever. And again, if you actually did the research, you would know that Carl Lawson got a lot of pressures, a lot of quarterback hits, and he would fit in Robert Saleh's scheme. That's one. But again, back to what you were talking about, Mike, about how the perception, it would have been, just same old Jets. Corey Davis would have been 1,000. He even knocked the Corey Davis signing. I'm like, Corey Davis would have been 1,000-yard receiver had he not caught COVID. And again, he was second in the NFL. He was fourth in the NFL in yards off play action, something that the Jets offense is going to do a lot of. And on top of that, he was behind guys like Tyreek Hill and Stephon Diggs and Calvin Ridley, all guys that were in pass happy offenses. And now he's going to go to a situation where they're going to throw the ball more versus where he was in offense.
And he's an amazing run blocker too, which can't be overlooked because him, Mims, even Cole. I mean, the Jets are putting an emphasis on those receiver blocking because they know that they're going to have that outside running system where if you can get receiver blocks, you can break a lot of those 50, 60-yard touchdowns. Yeah, I don't think Colin Cowherd's going to be on the Jets side for the next few years after he was so on the Sam Darnold train and he just watched our organization just crumble him. So I think he's probably going to be pretty anti-Jets for a while here. They're going to have to win him back.
Of course.
Yeah, that's what I would bet has happened here, but it's all about the narratives, and I agree. I think Patriots. The Patriots are basically doing what the Jets and every other bad team has done the last 10 years, and there's a direct correlation between money spent and losses. So I think they're just trying to buy their way into this last window. Belichick's kind of older. They're going to try to ride Cam Newton and their returning defenders and whatever, just try to squeeze something out of the season. But I think it ultimately ends in a blow up after this year.
And to piggyback off of that, like I had one of my friends, he's a Bengals beat reporter, and he was like, the Patriots are going to be better than the Dolphins or whatnot. I'm like, all right, whatever. But he said like, they're getting all their players back. And I'm like, who are they really missing? Okay, Hightower and Patrick Chung. Patrick Chung just retired.
Yeah.
That's why they went and signed Jalen Mills, who is he's okay. They had majority of their defenders. They still had the McCourty twins, and they still had Stephon Gilmore. Yeah, they get Calvin Noy back, but Calvin Noy was average in Miami. Granted, he should be better in New England, but I mean, Calvin Noy he's cool. You know what I'm saying? So
I think Judon they probably overpaid for, but I can see him being
He's probably the one I can see him being another Pro Bowler because he can get after the quarterback. But I did hear or read something where there's like he got a lot of the sacks due to the Ravens just pressuring a lot. So he's one battles. So so we'll see. But yeah, I mean, I'm not moved by. Again, tell me what Bill Belichick has done without Tom Brady. He had 2 seasons and went to the playoffs one time. You know what I'm saying? He had 2 seasons and he had went to the playoffs one time. So I'm not gonna say. And granted, it's very lazy for me to just tie it just to that. But damn it, like I'm gonna do that because clearly the evidence supports it. You know what I'm saying? It's not a coincidence that Tom Brady go to Tampa Bay Buccaneers and they win the Super Bowl. Granted, he went to a very good roster, but he was able to take them over the top. But again,
I think they'll probably be a better team, but I don't see. I could still see him missing the playoffs. Like, I don't see this as being the long-term Patriots are back. Like, maybe they can squeeze out a winning season this year.
And the team is old, man.
Exactly.
The team's not that young.
The window's closed, I think. I think the window.
Exactly.
Our long national. I mean, you can revel in this too because you're a fellow AFC East fan. Our long national nightmare is over. I mean, Now, of course, it's gonna be played back when they win another 3 Super Bowls. But
me and my friend, we were talking about it. We were just like, people, because we was like, when we watched the Tom Brady go to the back Super Bowl, we was like, people thought we were just all sorry because we couldn't stop Tom Brady in the Patriots. You saw he just went to the NFC and now he's in the Super Bowl. So we were laughing about that and stuff like that. But yeah, man.
Yeah, now I guess we just have to worry about Josh Allen and Buffalo.
Yeah, that's
kind of scary. The fact that he unlocked his full potential is pretty scary.
Yeah, that is. I'm like, come on, man. Because, he used to be the butt joke of the AFC.
I know. It's so odd to adjust to that now, looking at him as the new threat.
I was so
happy they drafted him.
Michael, I remember texting. I think it was before this year. Yeah, I think it was before this year. So it was after Josh Allen's second year, and we were preparing for week 1 Jets-Bills game. So I was just watching a lot of Bills games on NFL Game Pass. And I was texting Michael. I was like, Josh Allen's actually pretty damn good. Like, I mean, I know we like to shit on him as being bad, but like, I think we're kind of just falling victim to our low thought of him as a draft prospect, because I was watching, especially down the stretch his second year, I was like, damn, he's making some plays out there. Right. And then of course now this year he had, an amazing season.
I know. It was just like, I was like, oh, come on. Like,
hey, we'll see if Tua can do the same thing.
That's what I'm hoping for, though. That's what I'm hoping for. But we'll see. Because he does not have Josh Allen's upside. Because boy, I always saw some of the upside, but I'm like, man, he's just not accurate. Like when you watch him in a playoff game throw a jump ball to a fullback, it's like, whoo. I'm thinking we ain't never got to worry about that. Then when he unlocks it, it's like, man, from 10 touchdowns to 20 touchdowns passing to 40.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah. So we'll see though. Hopefully he can keep. Hopefully he won't. We'll see if he can keep it going. But we'll see though.
Hey, it's I keep saying an exciting time for the Jets fans. I've probably said that 200 times in the last year, but for the entire AFC East, it's a cool time. This is a division on the rise, and it's kind of scary as a Jets fan because I think they're all kind of battling for who's going to take Bill Belichick's throne. Bills are in the lead. Dolphins probably second. Hey, but Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas, they got the Jets on the come up. DJ, it was awesome getting to know you and talking Jets. We will definitely make sure to have you back on in the future. You were great. Let our listeners know where they can find you on Twitter, so they can follow you, get the Jets articles, get the Jets tweets. Hey, maybe soon you're going to have some sources, be breaking some stories. We'll see. But just let our listeners know where they can follow you.
I am at Bien-Aime at NYDN. If you just put DJ Bien-Aime, you'll be able to find me. I'm here on the Jets beat. Been by here for a week. I'm going into week 2. So we'll see. I have an article coming out tomorrow on what's it called? It's on it's gonna be some I talked to some scouts about
oh cool.
I talked to an NFC East scout, and I talked to Greg Cassells of NFL Films, and I talked to Bucky Brooks of NFL Network about Justin Fields versus Zach Wilson. So that will be coming out soon. It should be out tomorrow. I'm gonna work on it sometime tonight. Hopefully I can finish it tonight and then pick it up tomorrow or whatever. But yeah, it'll be out sometime tomorrow. So y'all be on the lookout for that.
Awesome. Yeah. And you can follow us at CYJ Pod on Twitter. You can follow Michael _Nania, myself at Ben W. Blessington. You can find this podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, iTunes, Spotify. Jets X Factor, the best place to go for Jets content. That's going to do it for us. We really appreciate you, DJ, taking time out of your day. And as always, folks, don't let the Jets ruin your life.
Carr has to work quickly. Down to 6 seconds. Carr going down again. And it's Quentin Williams this time for the Jets.
Over the middle in the air, picked off. Brian Poole to the end zone. Touchdown. touchdown, most likely.
Looks right, fires a bomb down the right sideline again for Mims. What a catch by Denzel Mims.